I don't get like the chat or anything.
You're live, Bradley, but hang on.
We are live.
Just give it 10 seconds for people to come in.
You're the boss, Brady.
Doesn't it usually show a number? Yeah, I just got the notification on my phone then.
All right. Do we kick it off, you reckon?
Maybe go a minute. Let people roll in first.
Just, I reckon, Zach, do you want to tell us in the comments when to start, just on the StreamYard comments? He'll be able to see numbers and stuff at his end. Oh. Comments. Oh, here we go.
All right.
You're live, boys. Kick it off.
All right. Well, firstly, thanks to Nike Melbourne Marathon Festival for making this afternoon possible. Today, we'll be joined by two elite athletes who will be competing next weekend, running royalty in Steve Moneghetti and the competition director. They'll be giving us a few tips and tricks to help you for next weekend. For those that don't know me, my name is Brady Croker. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Inside Running podcast and I'm based in Canberra. I'm also joined today by my other two co-hosts down in Echuca, Moama, Brady Threlfall, the 219 marathon man. And if everything goes to plan, he'll have a shiny new PB this time next Sunday. How are you, Brady?
Thanks, Brad. I'm going well, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to this time next week. Be a bit more relaxed after the race and finally looking forward to getting onto a start line and racing the marathon in what seems like such a long time throughout the pandemic for the last 16, 18 kind of months.
And happy with how the prep's gone?
Yeah, very happy. It's been, kind of all gone to plan, which doesn't really happen sometimes in a marathon build-up. So happy with the way my preparation's gone. But probably more than anything, just looking forward to getting back amongst the running community and back amongst, checking out the different events on the Saturday afternoon down there as well. And then, just cannot wait to hear that gun go off on Sunday morning and finally know that we're in a big kind of mass participation marathon event finally again.
And my other co-host who knows a few things about marathons, 214 man and a world championship representative in 2019, Julian Spence. How are you, Moose?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm going well. I'm excited too about this Melbourne Marathon.
Yeah. What will you be doing next weekend?
I'll be palming drinks to a few of the fellas up front. Got a couple of athletes that I'm coaching as well as some friends in the front group, and they're gonna be waiting on their drinks. So hopefully I don't mess that up. But yeah, Melbourne, it's so exciting to see it happening again. It feels like the closest that Australia has to a major marathon, I think. That's the kind of vibes that you get when you rock up on the Saturday and see the expo, and Sunday morning, like the numbers and the feel. It reminds me of the big ones.
Yeah, and it's been a mild sort of spring and start of summer, so we might get lucky with the weather in terms of, it's not going to be one of those super hot summer days.
Fingers crossed.
The weather's the weather.
Yeah. All right.
I think you're right, Crocs, but I think it's just. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say. I think it's like because we haven't had an opportunity for so long. I think the weather probably is just in the background a bit more than most years. Like you're kind of looking at the weather maybe a week out in past years and overthinking it a bit too much, and you want it to be perfect. But I just think there'll be a lot of people who are just grateful for the opportunity to be in a mass participation marathon. I'm just looking forward to making the most of it. So don't worry about the weather. Can't control that. Not worth worrying about.
All right, should we bring in our first guest? This guy doesn't really need much of an introduction. Running royalty in Steve Moneghetti, and he was recently inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. So welcome, Moners, and congratulations, and thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Brad. Nice to be along. Guys, and Brady's right on. We can't control the weather. What we can control is that we actually might have an event. It just seems like it's been so long for this moment to arrive. And, so many people have put their preps off and got close to getting on the start line and hasn't quite happened. So I think we're all excited just to get an event away.
Yeah. So, Mona, first up, what's your favourite memory of Melbourne Marathon? What's the moment that you go back to and say, oh, gee, I remember that stood out?
Would you believe, and I'm not sure that people would know this, that I actually used to go down with my club, and we'd sort of just watch. We'd have a few people who would be running it from, it was actually Ballarat Harriers, not Ballarat YCW, Ballarat Harriers initially, and sit on the side of the road. And I remember seeing Andrew Lloyd, who sort of started his career as a marathon runner. I don't know if people would sort of remember that, know that. So I'd cheer on Lloyd, and I'd sit in the gutter outside the Arts Centre and watch, Bill Rogers, a guy called Ron Tabb run past, and see those. Then we'd see the women come through, the elite women as well, and it was just me feeling a part of this special occasion. That was only probably 3,000 or 4,000 runners. I'm talking back in the the 70s, 80s. So I go back a long time, and I've had that association and been able to see me sitting in the gutter, me participating, helping a couple of mates get under 3 hours, to obviously then, being involved in another capacity. And now we're seeing Nike involved in Melbourne Marathon. Who could have imagined that here I am sort of, 35 years down the track, and it being able to have a sponsor involved in the event. Fantastic.
And I think Nike do have big plans for Melbourne to push it to one of the bigger marathons in the world, which is really exciting. But on the side of the road, you would have seen all of them, the front of the pack, the back of the pack as well. Just how should a marathoner be feeling right now, 7 days out, and what should they be focusing on in the lead up to their race on Sunday?
Yeah, well, they'll be very nervous, and they'll be sort of saying, I'm not training hard enough. What have I done wrong? I haven't had enough. I think they're actually still saying, can we just delay the start? I'm not quite ready. No one's ever quite ready. Surely they're not saying delay the start this time, but that's often what you're thinking. So it's that nervousness. I just missed that one long run. I remember when I was sick 6 months ago, that's going to impact. None of that is actually, you've almost got too much time on your hands. So don't feel bad about that. That's a very normal feeling, because you get so kind of obsessed by training that you forget that all of that training is to lead up to a race, and you kind of get focused on the training and forget that you actually just got to get fresh, absorb all the training this week, look after your nutrition. If it is hot, you're going to be hydrated, and make sure you're doing all those 1%ers that don't often involve a lot of actual running, because all the training, you've done all you can for that. All you can do is risk mucking up the training. You can't really improve. You can't get any fitter. You can't get any faster. All you can do is mess up the training that you've done in the lead-in, and there's been lots of lead-in. So it's really that anticipation now, and you've just got to temper that a little bit, maybe distract yourself a little bit, not with physical stuff, because you want to rest up. So I tell people, public holiday on Friday, surely we make it a public holiday so people can take the day off, so they, they're not on their legs at work and that sort of stuff. So they give their body every opportunity to get the benefit out of the training that they've done. Some people have done for 18 months.
Yeah. So you've got us through to Sunday morning. What are some key things that the runner needs to be doing on the morning of the race?
Surprisingly, you won't have slept hardly at all the night before. And, it's an hour early at 6 o'clock. You'll be sort of thinking, oh, gosh, it's early. So you won't sleep, or you'll sleep restlessly, but still get up earlier than you think you should. So, I used to get up 2 or 3 hours before, some of the 3 hours before, if I had to get out to the start of the race. I wanted to have just a couple of bits of toast just to settle my stomach down. I have a cup of tea, and then I always go out to the start. I have all my clothes out the night before, so I'm zip straight into my clothes, my bag packed, easy to get out to the race, because everything closes up on you very quickly. You haven't got enough time. Oh, damn, that queue at the toilet. I knew it was going to be long. Why didn't I get here earlier? So there's always just allow extra time. There is nothing wrong with sitting on the start line 10 minutes longer than you should have been, rather than getting there 10 minutes after the gun's gone. Because that, so it's that, I always feel like, I wanted things to be slow and under my control as much as I could. So, do all your check-in the day before. There's new COVID rules. So make sure you've done everything that you possibly can do, so that the things you can't control, you can look after on the day itself. And, but otherwise be prepared and organised. And that's what I used to do really well. So simplify everything so that, and if you can, get someone to take you out from the start, all of those things, so that no travel issues, no dietary issues, all of that, no equipment issues. They're the things that I used to focus on so that I could just keep my mind free to get ready for the gun to go. And that's what you want. You're just hanging around wanting that gun to go so you can get into your work.
And so the gun goes, and first-time marathoner goes out there. What are some strategies for pacing themselves? How do you suggest they get the right pace, the right effort level to match however long they're out there for?
Yeah, one thing I'm telling my athletes, and this is a bit of advice, I think we're going to be over keen because it's been so long since we've been on the start line. So I would be really conservative, so conservative you almost might be a little bit behind. So the pacer, if you were going to be in the 3:30 pacing group, maybe go back to 3:45. That I just think it's worth being a bit safe early because I think people are going to be really eager and go faster than they logically should. Because we've waited so long, I think the anticipation is going to really get to people. So I'm telling my people to be just conservative and safe. So, look for your paces, pick the right one and just stick in and try to relax and enjoy the experience. We've been waiting for this for 18 months. So you should be, and early on you can, you can take in a few of those sort of surrounds, the scenery and enjoy the company of people around you and try and get in a pack that's flowing along nicely, that suits your rhythm so that you can tick off those early Ks pretty comfortably. Certainly for the marathon people, if you're going to be out there for 4 or 5 hours, then you want to get into your work pretty comfortably early because it's going to be pretty tough at the back end because we haven't had a normal preparation. You might not have done that 30K hit out that you need. You haven't had that race. So I'm sensing that people are a bit uncertain and a bit unsure, so I'd be a bit conservative. That would be my initial advice.
And probably pretty good advice if it does get warm as well, because we know the heat will affect the your performance, and you have to plan around that. So it gets to the back end of the race, Mona, and obviously it's going to start hurting. No one's ever run a marathon without hurting. Can you offer some advice on how to push through the tough sections of the race late, mental strategies, even physical strategies?
Yeah, and obviously there is no plan B. Chris Wardler and I used to always say there's no plan B. It won't pan out like you hope. You've dreamt about how good this is going to be and you're on the time and it's cruisy and you cross the finish line, you feel great. That is not going to happen. So you just got to be flexible enough to realise that the training you've put in will serve you well. And first-time marathon runners, I tell guys, I say, look, you only ever finish your first marathon once. So enjoy, and it'll hurt and it'll be hard, but try and enjoy the experience and be in conversation with people around you because it's a group effort that is going to help you and the others get over the line to be enjoying it as best as you possibly can. But it's really just calling in the training, just working out, just don't overthink it. If it's just around the corner, just over William Barrett Bridge, is it just when you get onto the MCG, is it just 1 kilometre down the road, that little K marker, that post up around the tan, break it down into very achievable little steps and you'll find that before you know it, you're further down the road than you expected. So don't overthink it, trust the training that's got you to this position and then just run tough because once you cross the finish line, whilst it's hurting right now while you're in the moment, once you cross that finish line, you can live on the memories and look back on a successful event for the rest of your life.
Yeah, sounds pretty special. I want to go back to my first one again, redo it all over.
We all do. Mine was only at the Commonwealth Games, mate.
Yeah, yours was the most special there was.
Yeah.
So do you have a favourite of your own experiences running in the Melbourne Festival, whether it was a half marathon or a 10K?
The half was pretty good a few years ago. I think I broke 70 minutes and I was, help me out here, guys. You know my career better than me. I think I was in my 50s, I reckon. So, and I think I might have, I don't know if that was some record or something, but to run under 70 minutes at the age I was pretty happy with. And I was a little bit surprised. I didn't expect to, and I knew I was in pretty good shape, but I kind of don't get caught up in the time. I just run hard. And interestingly, sometimes you cross the finish line and you kind of look at that time and I go, geez, that's a pretty good time. But I was caught up in the race. I was actually racing. And I think sometimes we forget, we get so, and we've had 18 months to look at our bloody watches and Garmins and check out and see what's going on. And now I think just try and get in the mindset, if this is actually a race first and it's not a time trial. This is a race and the results will show where you finished in the race. So, remember that as well, that it's, you're out there in a race environment. So whilst your time's important, and I'm a classic case of that. I used to race. I'd run as hard as I could. If I won the race, I'd still run hard. I'd win by more. And if I didn't win, I'd race as hard as I could to beat those people around me. And the outcome was that by coincidence, I also ran pretty respectable time. So I think that racing mentality is something we've probably got a bit away from, and just get back onto remembering that. And that's what I remember from that half that I did. I think I was annoyed. A couple of guys, I was in a pack and a couple of guys kicked away from me in the last K and I should have beaten them and I didn't. So I'm disappointed. And then I looked at the time and thought, actually, it's probably not too bad. I'll take that.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite spot on the course to watch? Will you be watching on the weekend somewhere?
I have a favourite spot. It's not the runner's favourite spot. That's where we go up where the marathon and the half sort of joint a little bit and run with, and then the half peel off to the right and the marathon go up the tan. And there's a hill, but Jules, you know me well enough. It's not a hill, but at the 35K mark of a marathon, it's like running up Mount Buninyong. That is a mountain, and I've seen some people step off to the side of the road because it is too hard. And so that's the moment I love to see. And I remember, standing there, and you really see how people are coping. Look in their eyes, look at their style, see if they're really battling there, and how they come out of the drink station and how they're coping. And then you see them, bolt over to St Kilda Road and catch them. By then the race can have really changed. So it's a fantastic spot to get a sort of an inside view on how people are travelling. And normally, to be honest, and I'm not going to call it early, but normally what you see on St Kilda Road is often how it ends up crossing the line at the MCG.
It's actually a great spectators course because you can see them multiple times through Albert Park and get down and see them either side of Beaconsfield Parade as well, and then back up on Fitzroy Street. It's a brilliant spectator course. All right, Mona. Well, thanks so much for giving up your time this afternoon. I'm sure there'll be some first timers that are just engrossed in that sort of advice you've given us.
No worries. Sorry for rambling on so much. I know you've got other people, more important people to talk to, but hopefully there's a couple of tips there. And I really look forward to welcoming people back to the G on Saturday and Sunday. Fantastic get events back, and look forward to seeing lots of people running PBs and enjoying the days. Thanks, guys.
Are you running next weekend at all, Mona?
Got a bit of a hammy, so I'm unlikely. I'd love to be lining up for the 10K, but I'm not quite sure if that's going to happen. So is there a 3K walk?
I think there is. There is.
Yeah.
That might be me.
You're so competitive that you could probably go out and run up the front and claim some victory up there.
I could win the walk by running.
You get the red paddle though. You get the red paddle, Mona.
Yeah, they've got to stop me. Got to run out in front of me. I just avoid them and keep going. Get me later. Good on you guys.
Thanks, Mona.
See ya.
I did love that he broke. I'm pretty sure he broke an Australian record that day, Croaks, and he just couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
That half marathon,
So our second guest hopefully got a few tips from Mona because she'll be making her marathon debut next weekend in Melbourne. It's Miriam Dowie, who's down there in Tasmania. She has PBs of 34:39 for the 10K and 78:09 for the half marathon. Welcome, Miriam. How are you going?
Oh, good. Thank you guys for having me on.
No worries. I'll hand you over to Brady for this one.
Hey, Miriam, you're 22 years old. We often see people do their first marathon a bit later in life, but you're jumping into it this weekend. So could you maybe talk us through why the decision to step up to the marathon at such a young age?
Yeah, my third marathon. So I've done, my first marathon was in 2015. I was 16 years old. So I've done a few in the past. But I have a very big love for long distance running. And yeah, it should be really interesting to see how I go in Melbourne.
Yeah, and how has training gone? Like, I know you won the Point to Pinnacle just a couple of weekends down there, the half marathon, which I think had about 1,200 meters of elevation. So tell us a bit about your preparation.
Yeah, I've just enjoying each day as it goes, including a few longer runs each week. Probably not my most consistent build up or how I would have liked it to be, but it's just about enjoying the moment and enjoying the process. It's a journey, and as you said, to see fellow Victorians and Australians line up. Some people have been under lockdown for 18 months, which is a lot, and seeing everyone out and being able to have this opportunity is such a positive thing, which I think many people can agree on.
Yeah, for sure. Ken, I always like knowing some of the bigger workouts that you've completed in your marathon build-up. Can you share with us any specific sessions and some of the distances or the paces you've been running?
Yeah, my longest runs have been 30 Ks. I haven't done anything longer than that. And I did do a marathon-specific longer run, so I was trying for at least 10 kilometers to run at marathon pace. And then do 20 Ks at just a relatively easier pace. A lot of interval sessions, so 1K reps, and shorter stuff as well, such as 400 meters, 200 meters, things like that, just to keep the legs ticking, and hill work. I find hill is really important, and I overall think that they benefit my training. So a mixture of everything, really. Yeah.
Sounds like a perfect training plan. Have you got a goal set for Sunday? I know it's always hard in the marathon because it's such a long distance and it's hard to, like, maybe a position goal. I'm sure you've seen the elite female field, which we'll talk a bit more about later on in this stream. But have you picked out a position you think you might come in and a finishing time you're looking to beat?
I think, in all honesty, my ultimate goal is to make it to the finish. It's such an honour to be able to line up with some of Australia's best distance runners. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to race my own self and aim for a PB, hopefully. If not, just getting to the finish is an accomplishment. Yeah. The placing, I have no idea. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very relaxed a week out. Like, do you usually handle the nerves and the pressure pretty good this far out from a major race?
A lot of people ask me that question. I just don't even think about the race until I'm on the actual race line. And then I try to overthink it because, at the end of the day, some things are out of our control. What's in our control is recovery, hydration, nutrition, and just making it to the start. So, yeah.
Yeah, very well said. But talking about that start line, you'll be standing next to Millie Clark, who was 18th at the Olympics, and also from down in Tasmania, that was the 2016 Olympics, and Eloise Wellings, which is also an Olympian, who's just recently finished 14th place at the London Marathon a few weeks ago. Does that intimidate you or inspire you? What's it like to look across the start line and see those girls there?
It does not intimidate me. Like, I actually find it really inspiring, and I'm honoured to be able to line up with them. It's such an honour, and I think everyone's at a different stage of the journey, whether it's your first marathon or your 20th marathon, or if you're an elite or an Olympian, or if you're just a recreational runner. It's just great to be able to share that journey with everyone, no matter what level they are or what stage they are in their running journey.
Yeah. And talking about those recreational runners, do you have any tips out there? Like, I'm sure we've got a number of people who would be running their first one, or like just to deal with the pressure maybe, or the stress that race week can often bring.
Have fun. That's my number one tip. And as Steve mentioned before, run a conservative race. Don't go out too hard. I know that the nerves can really, and the adrenaline can, you might feel really great, but enjoy each moment and make sure that you're drinking throughout, hydrating and fueling up. Feel like you don't really need a drink or a gel, take it, because it will all help towards the end when it does get tough.
And for you, in those early stages, talking about being conservative, have you sat down with your coach or anything yet and discussed like a pace or a 5K split for the first 5K and maybe the first 10K?
Yeah, so my plan is to try and run it as, I guess, even split as possible. My PB is 2 hours and 53, so I know that there will be a 250 pacer for the marathon. So my goal is to stick with them for as long as I can, and if I'm feeling good towards the end, try and finish off the last 5Ks.
Yeah. Now, I did a bit of Strava stalking today, and I was looking through some of the runs you've done over the last couple of weeks, and I noticed that you spent some time training with Australian of the Year, Grace Tame, and I was talking to her coach, Josh Harris, and he mentioned that you're pretty good mates. That must be, I know you've been friends for a long time, but it must be pretty inspiring to do some of the longer training sessions with her as well.
So she is, and she's her work and just the message that she's managed to actually bring up and advocate for so many people. It's very inspiring, and she's amazing in person and as an advocate. So she's only just recently coming back from an injury, so being able to run alongside her again has been amazing. So we did a long run this morning, and it was just great to catch up. She's great.
Yeah, it's very cool what you're kind of achieving down there in Tassie. Well, I think that's all for me, Miriam. Is there any more questions from the boys? Moose and Brad, you're here as well. Got any questions before Miriam we see you on the start line next Sunday morning?
Oh, just quickly, how did you get into the sport?
I got into running from a high school friend back in grade 8. Initially, I actually hated running. I would be the last one at PE in the Oval, and I just dreaded it. But my friend encouraged me to join the school team. So they organised a school team for the fun run called the City to Casino Fun Run, which is quite iconic in Tassie. And the 7K run. And I was like, how am I going to run 7Ks? That's just crazy. I can't do that. But she convinced me, and I managed to get to the start of the fun run. I ran the whole way without stopping. And after crossing that finish line, I had a realization, and I told myself, if I'm able to run 7Ks without stopping, then what else can I achieve? And ever since then, running has been a big part of my life.
Very good. Well, thank you for giving up your time this afternoon, and all the best for next weekend. It's a pretty amazing experience, your debut, so enjoy it as much as you possibly can.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Miriam.
Thanks, Miriam.
See you later.
All right, boys, let's get into previewing some of the elite fields for next weekend. And to help us do that is Tim Crosbie. So Tim is the elite athlete coordinator and competition director. He's also the recreational running coordinator at AFS Victoria and the founder of Crosbie Crew. Welcome, Tim Crosbie.
Hi, guys. How you going? It's good to be on board.
Good. Yeah, so you won't be running next weekend, but come Sunday afternoon, you probably will have felt like you've run a marathon.
Oh, it's actually an amazing feeling, Brad. Just like the runners, you go through I sit usually down the basements of the MCG, and I think, Christ, all of those hours and hours and hours of work, and now it's over. And you go through a little bit of depression as someone who's the key organizer of the event. And all you're doing is you're left packing up boxes of bananas and stuff like that. And you think, well, that's it. It's coming, it's gone. But honestly, it's a great experience. And there's nothing like having the MCG is there for this event.
Can you just give us a rough outline of how your weekend, what you'll do next weekend, and also when you basically started planning for this event?
Well, this one's been a funny one, hasn't it? Because we had the original October date, which didn't go ahead, and then we've shifted to December, and that looks like it's going to work quite nicely. The weekend itself is pretty full on because we start. I'll be there probably about 9 o'clock on the Saturday. We'll start setting up. We've had a few queries on why isn't the 10K and the other events on a bit earlier on the Saturday, and we've bumped them out to the afternoon. But there's actually a cricket match on the Friday night, so we can't bump in too early. So we'll be bumping in on the Saturday morning, and we do start doing things like the briefings. So I'll have all the paces in. I think they're at 11:30 briefing. And then the elites will be in at 1 o'clock, and then we're going to start the events at 3 o'clock. So it's going to be probably more of a full-on Saturday than the norm when we're just the one day of eventing. Sunday morning, I'll be there at 4 o'clock. We're expecting the first runners in at about 4:30. We're shipping them over the start line about 5:30, and then 6:30 for the half marathon. As soon as the half's over, we're back to the MCG onto the finish line, and I'll have my team, which, I'm so lucky. I've got a great team. I've got volunteers who just help me no end on that day. Just identifying the winners, managing the pace groups, all those sort of things. And that team really is essential. There's just a lot more than just me running this thing down in the basement. So it's a big weekend. And as I said, it does take its toll, but gee, it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, well said.
Tim, the elite fields came out, I think Friday. I think I received an email, and they're pretty deep. The marathon and the half, I guess, limited opportunities for Australians to travel overseas, what we usually might see in a spring or kind of summer. But you must be pretty happy with the way they've come together.
Certainly am, Brady, but also the good thing, it's predominantly Australians. Well, apart from maybe Lydia O'Donnell if she lines up the Kiwi. So. I suppose when you look at Melbourne and our philosophy over the years, we've had a very strong tilt. And I've sort of pushed this a lot with IMG that we want to support Australian athletics. We want to support Australian athletes. And we certainly put more emphasis on building a domestic field than an international field. Hence why, we don't have the internationals like Gold Coast or Sydney might, because actually we're not a labelled event as yet, so we don't have to. So we certainly have a strong focus and you have a look at the winners list, over the years, particularly in the women. Most of the major Australian female Olympians have won this event, the current batch. And you look, Liam and Tom and, Brad Milosevic, they've also had a chance to win. And with that win, at the moment, prize money is $20,000. So it's a nice little payday, and it's really good that we can build that tradition. But I think we also build a lot of respect within the Australian distance running community because of the way that we do go out of our way to support those athletes. This year, the budgets are a little bit tighter. This year, due to the honouring of all the 2020 entrants, we're not doing as much support, but the prize money is still on the line, and the prize money is there to be had, and it will be won by Australians this year.
Let's talk about the who potentially might win the prize money. I'll ask you for a definite answer in a second, but let's talk about the women's marathon to start off with. We've got Millie Clark, an Olympian, top 20 finisher at the Olympics. We've got Eloise Wellings, also an Olympian. And I've got Marnie Ponton down as my predicted top 3. Anyone else excite you, or any comments there about the women's field for the marathon?
Wasn't it nice when Eloise jumped from the half marathon to the marathon? It really, I'm not sure what Millie was thinking when she found out, but it's certainly, it's making for a very enticing battle, that one. I'll be very interested to see the strategies on the day, how it pans out. Both are going to have pacemakers as well. So they've both got their assistants. They'll both have the bikes out there as well, assisting them, with the drinks and things like that. And I'm just really, when you look, 2:28 PB for Clark, 2:29 recent PB for Wellings. Eloise a little bit quicker over the half, but that was in 2016, I think. Millie we know is in good shape. I do agree, Marnie, and I think I've said this to Marnie. I don't think Marnie's ever achieved a really good marathon yet. This could be her chance. She's a 2:37, but we know that she's better than that. 72:21 for the half marathon indicates that she can go quicker, and I think her preparation appears to be good. Don't discount Sarah Klein as well, Com Games World Champs representative, and Sarah, I've seen her dashing around Albert Park Lake. She's looking good, and she ran very well at the 3K Champs or the Miles Club not too long ago. Probably the dark horse is Lydia O'Donnell. I haven't heard much of she was a bit of a late entrant into this one. I haven't heard much about her form, so the Kiwi could sort of try and vie for a top 3, which she has done before. I think she's come second, or I think maybe third before in this event. So, she knows the course, she knows the event, so O'Donnell's no one to watch out for.
And the men's, we've got just fresh off the Tokyo Olympics, his last race would have been the marathon there, Brett Robinson. Tom DeCano, his previous winner of the half and the marathon. Ed Goddard making his debut. He's represented Australia at the World Uni Games over a half marathon. And pretty gutsy kind of a bit of a rare racer. You're never sure what you're going to get with Goddard, I think. So it could be a very interesting debut there. And Riley Cox, who's also been on those World University teams before. Who do you like there? And am I missing anyone for a potential dark horse?
That's my top 4 as well at the moment, Brady. So really it's hard to go past Brett. When you look, 59.57 for the half and, the Australian record holder and 2:10 marathon. He's been around that mark a few times. He's not actually getting the number 1 bib though, but maybe a little bit controversially. But I did give the number 1 to Tommy because he has won the event before, and he's him and the whole run crew group from up in Sydney are massive supporters of the Nike Melbourne Marathon Festival, and so Tommy's going to wear the prestigious number 1. But Tommy always talks himself down. I know he's in good shape, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of a challenge to Brett. But from what I'm hearing, Brett is prepared to go it alone and just carve it out there. And yes, as you say, Riley 62.54 for the half, so he's debuting. It will be interesting. I know a lot of these guys put a lot of emotional energy into Gold Coast, which didn't go ahead. They've had to regroup, regather, get it back onto the training, and try and line up for this one. And we know too that it's been what's the Melbourne weather going to be like in December. Well, actually, we think it's going to be okay. So I'm hoping we can present good conditions because we know that this is a fast course. People. I don't know why they talk the Melbourne course down because it does have a few rises, but sometimes those rises are just what you need to break up the monotony of a flat course. And, we think, you look at what, Diver did a few years ago for 2:25 on a pretty crappy day and has only gone 1 minute better than that in London. Melbourne can be bloody quick, so we know it. And if these guys, get their act together and people like Riley, but Ed to me is the dark horse, but also the excitement factor. And I'm really, really looking forward to see what Ed can do. 62.16 for a half, he can run. It's a matter of how he's come back from injury and things like that. So we'll just, it's a lot of stories will be told after the race. We know that.
Yeah, Tim, and you spoke about the women bringing their own pacemakers. Has there been any talk that one of the boys will have someone sending them down the road for a few K?
I've tried but failed to get a pacemaker. It really is hard because there's so many good names racing who are the only ones who could potentially pace at the pace they need to go at. So, it is a bit of a shame that the guys, and as I said, from my discussions around Brett, I think he's prepared to just carve it out there. So we'll just see, what happens and how that pans out. But there's no one giving them any assistance. And maybe that's the next thing we've got to work on with Australian marathoning for men. If we're going to have these really good races in Australia, Gold Coast and Melbourne in particular, the 2 quickies, we've got to try and get that consolidated effort to try and get some pacemakers for them because it's very hard to.
Interesting you said that about Brett's potential tactics because when I saw his name on the entry and fresh off kind of Tokyo, I thought it might have been a bit of a sit and kick job and try to fill his pockets with $20,000, and he's coming up next. So I'm looking forward to asking him about that, which could be quite interesting on race day.
He could prove me totally wrong. Who knows? He might play the poker face. We'll see what Brett has to say.
What do you say? And then the women's half marathon. This for me is all class in this race. You got Sinead Diver, fresh off the Olympics. Jess Stenson, fresh off running the fastest marathon ever on Australian soil for a female. Izzy Bat-Doyle making her debut, who represented Australia at the 5K at the Olympics. And also Leanne Pompiani, who I think could be set for a huge debut as well. Tell me more about this field. Who am I leaving off? Who excites you?
Oh, look, yet again, Brady, you've matched my top 4. Simple as that. There is other talent in this race, but you can't go past those. 68.50 for Diver. When you look at Jess's PBs, they're not as solid as some of the other girls, but that 2:25 in Perth, to me, that was a 2:23 in a major. Honestly, this girl is in form. How she's pulled up for that, we'll find out. But I don't think they'd be racing unless they thought Jess could give this a red hot go. And I think, when we talk super shoes and all those sort of things, we sort of know too that the recovery from the major events is a lot better than it used to be when racing flats were flat. So I think Jess will go well. Izzy, I'm very interested to see what Izzy can do. I think Izzy can serve it right up to them, and if it gets down to a bit of a sprint finish, you might want to have your money on Bat-Doyle because she might deliver. I've always been a fan of Pompiani. I like what Leanne does, and 32.26 10K. She's run a 71.47, but I think she's got the sub 70 in her as well. It could be time, and I'd like to see what she can do over the marathon at some stage as well. I think Leanne definitely is an exciting prospect in Australian athletics, and because we've got to start looking what is the next generation, and because there has to be a next generation, and to me, Leanne is definitely leading the way as one of those.
And the men's half marathon, Jack Rayner. I think I've got 3 Olympians there. Jack Rayner, Sam McEntee, Dave McNeil. You've also got Jack Bruce and Tim Vincent coming down from Queensland, who's had some pretty impressive races. He won a solid 10K up there a few weeks ago on the roads, on the bridge to bridge. So also some exciting people to watch there.
Yeah, that's my order as well at the moment. Who knows what sort of, because we haven't seen a lot of racing from the guys, Brady. That's the thing. We haven't, since the Olympics, there's, been downtime for a lot of the Olympians there. And as we know, Melbourne's only just coming back out to have events. And this is the first major event in Australia, actually, for quite a long time. Interesting to see some results coming through from Sydney today, though, at the 10K. And there's some good stuff coming out of there. But, Jack, if in reasonable form, is always, because he's such a great competitor. Jack Rayner is a competitor, but so is Dave McNeil. Jack Bruce, 28.15 for 10K. He can run too. And then McEntee, 28.17, his PB over 10. And I'm right with you too on Timmy Vincent. I've been on teams with Tim before. Great guy. Really exciting what's happening up in Queensland. They're delivering some really good athletes out of the northern states now, which I think's quite exciting, because the New South Wales Victorian dominance, and also South Australia with Team Tempo. We know that those guys can run, and Tim to me is a bit of a dark horse, and I yet again will be interested to see how he shapes up in a field like this of that quality, and whether he has the ticker to really push it out there and go with those leaders. So once again, it's going to be exciting to be watching who comes through that tunnel first, and watch them do that victory lap around the MCG.
All right, Tim. Well, now it's time to pick them. So you got 4 names to put down, 1 from each race. Women's marathon. Who's your name?
Can we have a time as well, Tim? Give us a time.
Yeah, time is good. Time is good. If it's 20 degrees, we'll say.
Yeah, well, we're waiting for Nick Earl to deliver on that weather forecast, aren't we? I think he's going to give me one, I think, on Thursday. So, but outlying forecast at the moment is good. We're looking good. So, I think I'll go for Millie, only because I'm not sure how Eloise will come out of the London experience. And I think Millie has targeted this one. She's got a lot to, Eloise potentially has already got a qualifier for Worlds or for comps. Millie needs that, I think. So Millie will be going for it, and she's got a lot on stake here. So I'd be going Millie in the women's. It's really hard to go past Brett, isn't it? Really, really hard. If he's in form, he will win. But if not, I think Tommy could come through again, because I think he's probably in PB shape right now. So they're the ones for the marathon. Look, as I said, for Millie, I reckon I'd be thinking sub 2:30. I reckon we could be looking at 28, 29. I'm not sure if they'll go a lot quicker than that. We will wait and see. We'll see how the paces line up. And I don't think the 2:10 record will go this year. But, no big plugs to Nike for this. You watch for the next few years. Those records are going to come tumbling down because of the involvement we've now got from the Nike team, which has been absolutely fantastic so far. So I think maybe 2:12, 2:13 for the men's, and we'll see how. But that's going to be good enough for $20,000. It's not a bad payday.
I think if it goes out hard, you've got a few fellas there that like it to go out hard. So obviously we talked about Brett making it fast, but I mean that's Tom's key to winning. He's not going to run faster than a sub 60-minute half guy in the last 10K. That's going to be just dishing it up to Brett. So, and Ed Goddard, he's not going to sit back and watch blokes run up the road. So you could be on for a faster pace in the men's.
Yeah, and let's hope that Jules, that they actually get a little bit of a pack formed. Let's see. When you chat to Brett, you're probably going to get more intel on that one. But if there is a bit of a pack and they settle early, and it comes to a fairly even-paced race, which we know can be done on this course. Yes, there's a bit of an up and over when you hit the up towards the Shrine and then back up Dallas Brooks Drive, but you get that beautiful spin off the top as well. And when this is where both Lisa and Sinead have had awesome runs home on that course, when they mount that final hill coming off the Shrine and coming back onto St Kilda Road, they are flying. You remember that year that I think Sinead was the second fastest of the entire field, men included, in the last 2K.
Save some legs, you're saying?
Yeah, save some legs and really capitalise on the last bit.
So in the half, I mean, you've picked 2 Olympians so far. Are we going to see 2 more Olympians win the half?
I think so, yeah. The women's, I might go out on a bit of a limb here. I might go for Izzy for the win.
Izzy, yep.
Yeah, and I think she's quite capable of probably a 69 on that course, 68 or 69. I'll probably go 69 because it's not the fastest. I think that it could be a bit of a strategic battle, that one as well. I reckon they'll be eyeing each other off early, unless someone decides that they really want to try and destroy the field and try and do some damage. And I'm not sure who that might be. We possibly Sinead might decide, okay, I want to win this race and I'm going to take it early. Let's just see.
Yeah. Okay. And
Tim, the role of the Moose. So I'm just going to quickly ask about the role of the pacers. You kind of touched on it before, how you've met with those guys, but can you tell us what pace groups? I think there'll be plenty of them. What pacemakers you've got, and how do people go about finding their right pacemaker?
We haven't done the men's half yet, Brady. Do you want to?
That's what you cut me off.
Sorry. I got the producer sending me the questions to ask.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, men's half, I think I think Jack will be the one to beat. But if he's not in absolutely top shape coming out of Tokyo, then Dave McNeil, I think, would be my man. Dave's experienced. He's got a level head. He knows how to run a race. But he is inexperienced at the half. He's only had a go at it, and he told me he just failed miserably. So maybe he's got a bit of a mission here not to fail at the half and get a reasonable PB, because he is obviously heading towards the twilight of the career, perhaps. I'm not trying to put Dave down at all, but he's he's been around for a long, long time, and maybe he just wants that really impressive half marathon time, and this could be the chance for him to do it.
Now the pacer question, Tim.
Pacers, yes.
They're pretty important on race day.
Don't we love our pacers? They're one of the visible elements of the event. So, and I'm very, very proud of the group. I've got quite an established grouping of pacers. There's about 55 of them that will be out there on the day in the half marathon and the marathon. In the marathon, they start at 250. Luckily, I've had 2 250s land or come into my lap in the last 2 weeks. So I've been very late on the piece. Very hard to get a 250 pacer because usually those guys are competitive runners. And in a chance, given we haven't had a race for, this one for 2 years, they usually want to do it. So I've got 2 to do the 250. Then we've got 3 hours, 3:10. They go through another really exciting thing for us this year. I had a little bit of a request through my job at AV. That someone's just as an off-the-cuff remark said, Melbourne Marathon, it's all about the fast runners. And did you realise that so many people can't break 4 hours these days and you don't really care about them that much? And fair cop, actually. And so we go to 4:10, 4:20. That was where we capped the paces. But I think this year, or 4:30, this year we're introducing a 4:45 and also a 5-hour pace group. So we've gone to new ground. Nike were absolutely supportive of it. So were IMG. So we've introduced those ones. So the marathon goes from 2 hours 50 to 5 hours, and the half marathon goes from 1 hour 30 through to 2 hours 20. So maybe in future years we'll look at some other half marathon groups. As I said, I'm very proud of our pace group leaders because they are smart. They don't do anything stupid out there. Well, maybe 1 or 2 over previous years have, but generally the way we instruct them is even pace, because they're not only trying to get those groupings through. Say if you're taking the 3-hour group, like dear old Damien Angus is, once again, great man. The aim for them is not to run 3 hours and 10 seconds by the clock. We want them in at about 2:58 or 2:59. So they will steer that ship along that path. The same with the 4-hour pace group. The aim is to have a 3 at the start. So whatever the pace group is, the aim is to have that group in just ahead of that time. So it's trying to break the barrier that of the time itself. And our instructions to those paces is even pacing. No time in the bank, no taking the sub-3 group, through half marathon in 1:24 or 1:25, because we know what that does. Because a lot of people who join a pace group are aspirational. They might be a 3:07 or 3:08er who want to break 3 hours for the first time. And if you send them through on 2:55 pace, chances are you're going to absolutely fry them. And I've seen events where the 3-hour paces come through with no one with them. So at Melbourne, we instruct on very even pacing, just under the target time. And the other reason for that too is that for the crowd out on the course, those paces are sort of the barometer of what's going out. You know, if you're watching your friends and you see the 3:30 group go through, then you see your friend, and then you see your 3:40 group, you know how your friend's tracking. I know we've got online tracking and that stuff as well, but for the crowd, the paces are really establishing, you know, how people are going out there, because if they're running true to time, then you know exactly how your friends or family are going.
Yeah, well put.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for all that expertise, Tim. And Brady, you put a bit of fire in his belly by giving him race bib 33.
I like 33, Tim. That's how old I am. Brad was, he was getting into me going, geez, you're a long way down the list with number 33. But I thought, good energy and two of the same number next to each other.
No, I do put a little bit of thought into the numbers, and 33 was the lucky number for you, Mr. Threlfall. I thought I'll give him something that's got the double digits. The other one, Cornsy's wearing, Kane Corns is back, you know, great supporter of Melbourne Marathon, and Cornsy's back, and he's going to wear number 18, which was his number at Adelaide.
Very good.
So he'll be happy with that one.
Good energy there as well.
All right. Well, all the best for next weekend. I'm sure it'll all run smoothly. And thanks for everything that you do for the sport.
My pleasure, guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Cheers, Tim.
See you, Tim. All right, our last guest, and we've spoken about him a bit already today, two-time Olympian, Australian record in the half marathon and a marathon PB of 2:10:55. Welcome back to the Inside Running podcast, Brett Robinson.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
This is what the people are here for, Brett.
We've spoken about you a bit already today.
Yeah, I heard.
So I guess
hear it all.
So we might just start. You come off the Tokyo Olympics. What were those first month after the Olympics in terms of quarantine and how your body was and how your motivation? Did you struggle to get back into it?
So I was actually really motivated coming out of quarantine because I just wanted to get back into it, but the worst thing you can do is sit down for 2 weeks after a marathon. I thought I'd be feeling fine. And then my first run out, I was just like, I felt like I'd run a marathon the day before. Like my legs were just still fried. And I got back into it slowly. But it was just like everything was just so sore. And then I finally got going again and just happened to be riding down the street, fell off my bike, did my shoulder, and ended up in a sling for like 2 weeks. And then since then got going again and then had a bit of a niggle in my quad, but I'm going right now. So a rough time since the Olympics.
Yeah, I noticed on Strava, it's been a very different marathon build up for you. Like you've been doing a lot of long rides, not a lot of, I guess, marathon specific sessions. When did you actually decide to enter Melbourne Marathon?
So I'd always kind of planned on doing it, and just because I want to test a few things with the marathon and just with those issues I had in my other ones, see if we can try to figure out what the problem is and what I need to do. So I thought Melbourne is like my home one. If anything does go wrong, I'm right next to my doctors and everything, so I can kind of figure it out. I can see doctors before and stuff. So that was kind of the main reason for doing it. But then I had, a bit of a niggle. So that's why I had to kind of supplement the running I was missing with a lot of cycling. And I haven't done as many marathon sessions. I've done some the last month, but nothing like I would usually do. But I felt also like I came off the Olympics and like a huge build for that. So I didn't feel like I had to do a full build up this time either. Yeah.
And so going into this race, given what you've just said, are you chasing a time or are you just going to sit and kick and pick up 20 grand? What's the tactic?
Yeah. The number one thing is trying to win. The time doesn't really bother me. Like if the other guys want to try to go quick, then that doesn't bother me either, because I feel like I'm in very good half marathon shape right now. So that wouldn't bother me, but yeah, the number one thing is getting the win.
Yeah. And any changes to your nutrition from previous marathons to try and get on top of the stomach issues?
No, well, so I don't really think, and like the doctors don't really think it's anything to do with my like actual fluid or carbohydrates I'm taking in. Like it's not actual stomach, it's more a muscle or something that's getting restricted in there. I had a CT scan a couple of days ago, checking like all the arteries and stuff, and so I still don't know the results from that. But and then checking also my ribs and stuff because I am really tight in this region, but nutrition wise staying the same as I have been for the Olympics.
Yeah. And I guess.
Sorry, Croaks. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, you go.
I was just going to say, like, does it worry you now because it's happened a few times? Like, does it concern you on the start line because you know that? I read your post after Rio and it was kind of very honest and authentic. Like, it sounds like a terrible thing to happen halfway, 3/4 of the way through a marathon. Like, do you stand on the start line being a bit worried, a bit concerned?
Definitely. It's very worrying because I don't get it in training because I never. So the original plan was for this race was to do some like 30K efforts at race pace and see if we could bring it on. But then because of the few niggles I had and hiccups, I haven't been able to. So it's just like any other race where I'm going into it hoping that it's not there, hoping that I've done the right things, which is the most frustrating thing because I thought London the other year that I had fixed it, got to the same point, happened again. I thought at the Olympics I'd fixed it with all the nutrition I changed, got to 28, 30K and it happened. So it's again, I'm hoping that I have done the right things this time. I think possibly I don't think the pace is going to be like I usually try to run. Like I do think it'll be like more of a 2:13, 2:14 race. So I hoping that kind of buys me more time as well, that if it does come on, it's a lot later in the race.
It's pretty brave though. Like you could have, after Tokyo, decided the marathon was done, win Zatopek in a month's time and stay away from the marathon and dominate on the track and even the road, like the 10K scene and the half marathon scene, but you're coming back for more.
Yeah, definitely straight after the marathon, I was like, I'll just be a half marathon runner. It's a lot easier. But I don't know. After not long, I kind of was like, nah, I need to figure this out. Like I feel like I have a lot of unfinished business. And the kind of the positive thing about it is like, I feel like I've been in great shape for these races, and like that I'm like London last year. Like I felt like I was about to run a really good race, and then I get stopped for a reason. It's not my fitness. It's not anything else. It's just this problem. I feel like if I fix that, then I'll have nothing that'll stop me.
Mm-hmm. So Melbourne doesn't sound like it'll be a race where you can qualify for the World Championships next year. Next year's World Championships and Com Games. What ideally, how does next year pan out for you?
To be honest, I think I would like to do the 10K at World Champs, and then maybe look for another marathon later. But I don't really feel like going and do another really hot marathon in Oregon. So first thing we're trying to qualify for the 10K and then see how I'm going from that. And don't know. Would you do Com Games marathon? Nah, probably wouldn't. I'd probably just focus on World Champs, I think.
Oh, interesting. I didn't expect that answer. I thought you would have tried to do both, especially if you do the 10K as a bit of a hit out before the marathon.
Yeah. But, yeah. Which one's first?
World Champs.
World Champs 10K would be.
World Champs. Yeah. Yeah. So I could, but I don't know.
You're a professional athlete as well, though, Brett, and there's going to be opportunities to run in some of the world major marathons and things like that. That's potentially on the calendar for 2022.
Yeah. So, nothing's. I haven't really talked about it yet. I'll probably talk to Nick and Collis after this or early next year. But that's what I'm kind of thinking, that if I would do a 10K at World Champs and then maybe look for a marathon, one of the big marathons, like a bit after that, that's probably what I would do. And,
so you won't look at a marathon.
It is my job. It is my job. So you make a lot more money going to one of those races compared to a World Champs or Com Games or Olympics. So.
Yeah. So you wouldn't look for a marathon early next year?
No, I don't think so. I think I'll do this. Then I'll try to find someone to qualify at 10K. I'm probably going to do a half marathon in early Feb overseas, and then I'll wait probably till the end. I need to just get some training in as well. I think just this build up hasn't been ideal, and I think I need some good uninterrupted training, and then find something else.
to run 27:20 or whatever you'll need, you'll have to get back in the spikes, do some real fast stuff.
Yes, I know, which I don't like. So, but is that the time?
I know
thought
it's
it was
like around that. Yeah.
I thought it was 27:45 for World Champs. Yeah. So the Olympics was 27:20 something.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what I've been thinking. So I hope it is.
I'm sure it's on their website.
I better find that out before I have a crack. But yeah. So I will have to. But I think it's good for me to go back do some of those shorter races. But now these days, shorter races are like 10Ks. Where the last few years I was going back doing 3Ks, but it doesn't really interest me that much anymore.
Brett, last one for me on the start line on Sunday. Who are you most concerned about?
Is Andy Buchanan racing?
He's out, late withdrawal, injured. Yep.
Damn. I thought Andy was going to have a really good one. So that's
no
a
one
shame.
now.
But no, definitely not. I'm concerned that Ed Goddard will go and run 64 minutes for the first half. Just because he's a bit crazy and all over the shop. But he runs a lot, so I think this is what he's going to be good at in the future. So I could see him running well. But and Tom Decano, I think Tom Decano is the main one I'll be competing against.
The main threat.
Home course though for you. Home course, you know the twists, the turns, the little uphills. So you've probably got a bit of a plan to win.
Yeah, I was trying to get local legend of the tan on Strava, and then I got injured trying to do it, so it didn't work. But so I know the tan and the hills on the tan pretty well.
Yeah.
And then you're a part of probably the most dominant training group in Australia, and a lot of people are one of the most dominant training groups in the world, but a lot of them are racing this weekend coming as well. Can you give us a name, someone who's been training the house down that you think is going to have a really good one?
I don't know. It's the half marathon is going to be a very good race, I think. Between Jack, Smack, and Dave, I think it's good. I don't think Smack and Dave. If Jack really goes for it, I think he'll win. And makes them hurt from a long way out. Those guys like kind of being a little bit comfortable and finishing hard. But if Jack's making them hurt at 16K, and the marathon's just a bit different to 10K. Like you're hurting for a good 20 minutes. So that'll be new for them. So I reckon Jack will win the half. I'm not sure about it. I think everyone's gone pretty well.
Yeah, that's good in race week.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with the last week of the taper, with the carb load throughout the end of the week. And all the best. It's exciting seeing someone as talented as you on the start line for the Nike Melbourne Marathon Sunday morning.
Yeah, thanks. I'll see you out there.
Actually, can I ask one more question? What shoes are you going to wear, Brett? Are you going to go the Nike Alpha Fly or the Nike Vaporfly?
I've gone the Vaporflies, but I've been wearing Alpha Flies on my Friday sessions, and that's what I was going to wear, but then just yesterday I just go like, no, I'm sticking with the Vaporflies. I don't know why, but yeah. So I've got no reason behind it. I'm just sticking to them.
It is hard when Nike make two really, really good shoes.
I know. I know.
First world problem.
I guess I just look at what Kipchoge and I'll see who wins Valencia Marathon tonight and what they're wearing.
Okay, so there could be a late change again.
Hopefully it's Nike.
Yeah. Hopefully it is. Yeah. Thanks again, Brett. I'll see you down there on the weekend.
All right, see ya.
Cheers, Brett.
I think we've lost Bradley Croker at the very end here, Moose, but that's okay because you and I can wrap it up. So that does conclude our Nike Melbourne Marathon Festival and Inside Running collaboration here, where we've been previewing the event, catching up with some special guests, and hopefully some people who have some really good performances on race day. A massive thanks to everyone who has tuned in. If you like what we do and you're new to seeing our faces, we do the Inside Running podcast every week. We'll be previewing the field a bit more deeply this coming week. We have some special guests. We've been doing that for the last 214 continuous weeks. So there's plenty of interviews with people that you will see on the start line at the Nike Melbourne Marathon this coming weekend. Good luck to anyone who's preparing out there. Moose, can you give me one last tip? You coached Ali Pashley, who was a top 25 finisher at the Olympic Marathon. One last tip before we go from you.
Be patient. Be patient early, because there's no benefit going hard in the first 15, 20K. Discipline, people.
Sit on the couch and go to sleep. Isn't that you're saying? Go to sleep for the first 20.
Someone told me that one once and I liked it. 30K. Sit on the couch for 30K, then the rest starts.
Come back up Fitzroy Street there before you turn into St Kilda Road.
Mm-hmm. Fitzroy Street, that's exactly the spot.
That's the spot. It's going to be an exciting week. We're done. Thanks for tuning in again. And I'll talk to you tomorrow night, Moose, for our weekly show. Thanks, Zaka, who's been doing production behind the scenes. And, good luck in everyone's last week of preparation.